Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.
Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Jean Till. Today's show, we're visiting with Anne-Marie Cox. She's the Director of Communication for the Diocese of Des Moines. They have a new newsletter and magazine coming out, a new whole format for how we connect with folks. I'm really looking forward to visiting with Anne-Marie.
Yes, as I am, although I'm privileged to almost on a daily basis to collaborate with her on some things. And hopefully, mainly, it's not putting out fires or anything, but sharing the good news and boldly and clearly communicating our message. So hope, Jean, that you and all our listeners had wonderful Feast of Christmas and that season continues. But the liturgies, I hope, were beautiful, and the music. I've said before, my heart goes out as I celebrate 4 p.m. Mass at St. Ambrose Cathedral or the 11 a.m. on Christmas Day, looking at what it took for these families to get there, and maybe the many stops that they're expected to make with both sides of the family, or even maybe a few other multiple sides in this day and age with families experiencing divorce and others. So great sympathy and compassion for them, but hopefully it's joy that ultimately prevails for all of us, and the peace that Christ wants to bring to us. So we absorb that in the feast of the St. John the Evangelist. Love St. John's Gospel, that prologue that we could just meditate, take some quiet time and do all that. Christmas also this year, 2025, was the 20th anniversary of Pope Benedict XVI's encyclical Deus Caritas Est. 20 years already for some of us. Hard to believe, right? You haven't been marinating in that, huh, Jean?
Well, but some of these come out and it's like, but that was 5-6 years ago. Yeah.
And already 3 years anniversary after his death on the 31st, on New Year's Eve. So fondly remembered. Just a few thoughts that he offered to us in that wonderful exposition of Jesus' love, God's love. God loves us first. He doesn't demand of us a feeling which we ourselves are incapable of producing. For love's not merely a sentiment. Sentiments come and go. A sentiment can be a marvelous first spark, but it's not the fullness of love. Mature love calls into play all of man's potentialities, engages the whole man, so to speak, a will and intellect. And love is never finished. It's always open-ended and complete. Throughout life, it changes and matures, and thus remains faithful to itself. Kind of like John does for you, right, Jean? Yeah, isn't that nice? But, and how, yes, we become similar to the other. God, in fact, more present to me than I am to myself, says the late Holy Father. And love of neighbor, then, is shown to be possible in a way proclaimed by the Bible, by Jesus. It consists in the very fact that in God and with God, I love even the person whom I do not like or even know. And this only happens because we have the perspective of Jesus, such that Jesus' friend becomes my friend. Seeing with the eyes of Christ, I can give to others much more than their outward necessities. I can give them the look of love which they crave. That's, I think, that's a vocational calling for all of us.
Well, it is. And it isn't something that just happens because you say, it's going to happen. There are people that you just are, right?
Hey, no.
I'm sorry, Bishop. Let's go to confession. Bless me, Father. Bless me, Bishop. I have sinned. But it's like this has to be intentional to love that person even when you don't like them. To really say they are a child of God. And I'm going to love them for that reason only.
Yeah, and that deeper core desire rather than simply writing them off in that way. But Lord, I'm helpless. I can't do this. I depend totally on you. I know I'm called to this, and yet I'm not just kind of bearing this as an imposition, like, all right, grit my teeth. But Lord, help me to truly love. And that intention, I think, God finds irresistible to come to us in that way. But it might take decades.
Thank you for saying that.
It might take decades. And so, as we will conclude the Jubilee Year of Hope on Sunday, the 11 a.m. Mass in the Diocese of Des Moines at St. Ambrose Cathedral, nothing exotic. It will be a simple closing prayer that we mark that day. The holy doors at the various churches that people have made pilgrimage this year. We're not just going to lock them up, but
you're not going to lock us out.
Sense, no. Of course, it is the tabernacle which remains and endures, so he doesn't leave the building for us. But that way in which then a kind of hunger. Francis told us, hope is not a virtue for people with a full stomach. That's why the poor have always been the first bearers of hope. And so this poverty of trying to love someone, that God meets us in that, and that's a testimony to hope.
We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will be visiting with Anne-Marie Cox, the Director of Communications for the Diocese of Des Moines, on the new newsletter and magazine that will be coming from the diocese. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network. Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. On today's show, we're welcoming in Anne-Marie Cox, Director of Communication for the Diocese of Des Moines. New newsletter, new magazine. Exciting.
Yes, and we'll get to that. But we're making it personal. And so my people, and Anne-Marie, you're no stranger to the Iowa Catholic Radio and Spirit Catholic Radio audience. But I think this is the first time I've had you on air. Is that right?
Oh, I think I was on not that long ago. We were talking about Africa and the pilgrimage. That's right. Blessman International.
Thank you.
What a wonderful group.
It was. And just a chance to connect with some of them not long ago. So Dr. Blessman and the church at modern day, the Divine Word, has risen from the ground, and it is spectacular. So praise God. But Anne-Marie, you've been a long time with the servant of the people of the Diocese of Des Moines and communications. But how did this path lead you to Des Moines? Because you're a Chicago girl, are you not?
I am.
Cubs or White Sox?
Oh, White Sox.
Oh,
because we're
I'm sorry,
South
Bishop.
Side. South Side. You got to be.
Anne-Marie has to leave. Oh,
yes. And I do have to say, go Bears.
Okay. You're
what
back.
A year! What a year!
Yeah. So let's see, I don't know where to begin. So I'm from Chicago, like the real Chicago, not just the suburbs around. I grew up a few blocks from Midway Airport, back when it was really more for freight and postage and that sort of thing. And went to Columbia College and started working as a reporter for a few years.
So you knew journalism was where you wanted to be?
Well, I knew I wanted to do something in communications. I enjoyed writing. And my dad had wise advice. He said, Anna, you're going to be working for 40 years. Find something you like. And I did like writing. So I tried communications.
Was he a writer as well?
No, he was not.
Okay.
He was in sales. But, in his era, I think a lot of people took a job because that was the way you would support a family. And you did what you could to support the family. But I was the first in my family to go to college. And he said that gives you some opportunities that others have not had. So find something you really like to do.
Mm-hmm. Were you raised Catholic or was
yes,
okay.
yes.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to presume here.
Oh, yes. Every weekend, wherever we traveled, we'd find that Catholic church, Catholic symbolism around the house, certain customs and rites related to church and faith. Very strong.
Was there an ethnic flavor to this or not?
Well, I am Polish on both sides. I'm a thoroughbred. Yes.
Okay.
So, for instance,
Mr. John of Conti. Yeah.
That's right.
Yes, for Christmas and Easter, we will be breaking bread, which we call a płatki, kind of a flat bread like the bread is before it's consecrated. We all get a piece, and everybody takes a little piece from somebody else's, and you wish each other health, wealth, and happiness. Or if you're grandma, health, wealth, and marriage, health, wealth, and children, health, wealth, and whatever's on grandma's mind, right?
Yeah.
Have you sustained that with your own family?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
it's
beautiful.
Just a beautiful. It's a beautiful tradition to pass down to the children.
Oh,
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah, and like you alluded, with a small s, sacramental in a way, that conveying meaning and grace to others. So, parochial school or not?
Saint Symphorosa. In fact, when I first interviewed here, I interviewed with Bishop Sharon, and he's like, "Oh, I'm a bishop, and that one I've not heard of."
This is another bishop that hadn't heard of that one. So Columbia, and then print journalism right away?
Well, I was at a wire service. That
Okay.
was how I started in news, where you'd call in before cell phones to a rewrite, and rewrite would take the information, write the story, and send it out to 3 or 4 newspapers. There were 2 all-news radio stations. Chicago's a hopping news town.
Mm-hmm.
So we provided the content, some of the content that they were able to use.
Is that kind of a frenetic process? You see some of the old movies, kind of the beat journalism and everything else, right? I mean, this stuff is turning around, and several people are involved in that, right?
Oh, yeah. You, like I said, the reporter would be on the scene, call in their notes to a rewrite. Rewrite would write it up and then send it to an editor. Editor would look at it. A final editor would look at it and then send it out to the news organizations. What was frenetic, at least from my perspective, was first getting the information, and then second, finding a phone. like anybody who found the phone first. And some people would go to a place and find that phone before a news conference or the news started and somehow, put a pin in it or something so it wouldn't work, so that it would work when they needed it. Had to have that phone. These were, in the days before cell phones. Right?
Phone booths. Wow, yes, amazing. Or banks
or
of
somebody
phone?
nearby, a receptionist, business that would allow you to use a phone, a home.
So you'd bribe them with Christmas fruit or something, right, to take care of it? Yeah. And did you have kind of sources that you could go to and people that, trusted you and gave you insider information? Or
Oh, yes. But, we were, in a way, kind of
reveal their names.
Well, no, but in a way, yes. So you would be excited when somebody would maybe leak some information or share information with you. But, it was Chicago. So there's always maybe another motive behind someone wants to share this information because they're looking for something else, not from the reporter, but in the broader scheme. And if you like politics, Chicago is the place to be. And there was all kinds of things going on that little old new reporters might not be aware of.
Does it make one or tempt one to become a little jaundiced or a little bit too? The human condition and the machinations of men and things?
I would say my family tends to be more cynical than optimistic. And working for a news organization was really a blessing because it opened my eyes to conditions of fellow human beings, of brothers and sisters across the city that I had not seen before. Being in public housing, sitting for hours at a police station waiting for news to happen and seeing people coming and going. It was truly an eye-opening experience, and in retrospect, I think it was a blessing because it shaped my perspective and who I am.
Okay. And so, not leaping too far ahead, but ultimately the path led to the Diocese of Des Moines.
It did.
And were there multiple stops there? And did you envision working for the church?
Oh, no. If you told me back then I was going to be working for the church, I would have laughed.
That rivals Santa Claus's laugh, I think.
As I said, I grew up in a cynical family. But, we have a mysterious God, and I truly believe we have a God with a sense of humor. So where I would not have gone before, he has led me to new and exciting places. I went from Chicago to Southern Illinois and worked in an area that was really more like Kentucky. I mean, Illinois is Chicago and other. And I was at the far southern tip of Illinois for a while, covered a coal miners' strike, went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, covered multiple lawsuits and conflicts around a hazardous waste landfill. That's where I met my husband. He's originally from Davenport. So we met in Indiana, got married in Illinois, and moved to Iowa.
Here, let's hear it for the Midwest.
That's
All
right.
All those Iowa
We've
states.
got I-80 covered.
Anne-Marie, I think we should turn the tables on Bishop and say, did you think you were going to be a bishop?
That's a great question. Gene, you should be a reporter.
Like most bishops, I think the answer is no. As my mother said, I didn't even pray for this. So, Bishop Dingman or Bishop Bullock or who was?
Bishop Sharon was
Bishop
bishop
Sharon.
when I came
we don't have
here.
to go that far back.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And my husband had gotten a job here at the Des Moines Register, and I thought, well, it just made sense that I would when I finished my master's degree. And shortly after he was hired, there was a hiring freeze, so I needed to find something to do. And they were looking for a writer at the Catholic Mirror, and I thought, wonderful, I'll do this until the hiring freeze at the Register ends. And, life takes its twists and turns, and I've stayed with the diocese and the Catholic Mirror for a long time and really have grown to love it. This is where I belong. Amen. I hope you agree.
This is not a performance review.
Please never leave here. I mean, in the studio with my arms wrapped around your legs, holding up. No. So, the format has basically been the same, right, over these years, your tenure so far.
Well, when I started, we had a homemade website. Tom Chapman created our first website for us. We had a monthly newspaper and the occasional press release. And in that time, we now have a very robust website. We're introducing a bi-monthly magazine. We have an every other week digital newsletter. We are really pushing social media and pleased with the results that we're getting. You know, over time, the way people get information has changed. It's not like everybody's got only 3 TV stations and they're talking about what was on those stations. There's so much, communication is fragmented. And I think we need to be everywhere as much as we can. And so we're trying to do that. And I think the early results show we're being somewhat successful in that.
Okay. I mean, you kind of alluded the hiring freeze way back with the Register. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are tough times for print journalism, is that not? I mean, and even in the Catholic world, the Catholic press, I mean, how does the Diocese of Davenport sustain the Catholic Messenger on a weekly basis?
You know that is perhaps a pontifical secret that's I'll share.
I think it has something to do with being the paper of record, right?
Right.
But and the Archdiocese of Dubuque, from which I hailed, did away with the witness. So so we are blessed to have such a robust publication. And now, as it evolves, you didn't just kind of wake up one day and say, "I think we'll go this route." You were studying the field. And you have a group of people that have been your consultants along the way.
Yes, I'm very grateful for the advisors, the Communication Commission, which provided some feedback, and an advisory group of media professionals have really helped steer our ship, so to speak. You know, Bishop, this all stems back to our visioning process. And the people in the pews said there's a number of things that we need to work on, and one of them was communication, to boldly and clearly share the gospel. And one of the ways we could do that is saturate the market. So we've taken some time to look at how can we do that. Maybe we can up our game a bit with digital while retaining print. I'm a print person at heart. I bleed ink.
I wondered what that was.
and I still think that there's a strong need, a strong desire from that, from a couple of different perspectives. I want to share something with you. A couple of years ago, the Archdiocese of Baltimore, they had a magazine. They did a readership survey, and they found that 75% of the respondents would read less of the magazine if it was online only. Now, if our goal is evangelization, is to encourage new people to come to the faith and help those who are in the faith deepen their faith, lessening the number of people who are looking at our stories doesn't seem to be the right path to me. So I still think there's a place for print. Someday, 10, 20 years from now, maybe not.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
You know, when e-readers came out, they said there's going to be no future for books, and I have a huge stack by my
that I haven't read.
Yes, that I plan to read. The intention is there, and I still like my magazines. I might have them stack up for a while, but then some evening I sit down with a group of them and I'll work my way through them. So.
Now, Anne-Marie, if you already received the Catholic Mirror electronically, will you automatically be getting the newsletter then electronically? So is that transition the same?
Oh, yes. So those who had been wanting the Catholic Mirror digitally, we just moved them into the newsletter. And we've invited people to go to dmdiocese.org/newsletter and sign up for this new digital newsletter. We started it with Advent, and I am pleased to tell you, Bishop, that in 1 month, 1,000 email addresses came in. And that's just, we're just getting started. So that's 1,000 people saying, we want to know what's happening in the diocese. And I truly believe it's the events and it's the fresh news that's going on. So we had one come out just a couple of days ago, and I had 3 separate people within hours of it showing up in their mailboxes saying, I really like that story. A, it got into their mailboxes. B, they opened the email to see what it was. And C, they clicked on the story to read the story. These are all successes.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm still kind of with you, though, in terms of, I find, and it's just habits built up over a lifetime, but with a print version of anything, my eye is drawn to things, and I notice things that I wouldn't necessarily have clicked on, you know. I mean, a lot is riding on that one-line link for these stories, right? And I don't know, headline writers, or is that their new avocation, you know, writing these one-line things that make the links? Because sometimes they really are not disclosive of anything, right?
There's a whole science behind that, and apps and websites that will tell you how to write the best headline that will get people to open it, because that's what you want, is for them to open it and with any luck, maybe respond. So you've got that engagement.
Now, again, I'm showing my age, but I mean, sometimes, the headline, there's a bit of whimsy there, right? You want something catchy, and maybe it isn't something just kind of sober, objective, sound bite of what this is, but that captures you and draws you in. That's less present on the electronic version, or am I just kind of projecting something here?
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb here, but when I'm scrolling, I'm flipping through, looking to see what's new and exciting. Something might catch my eye, but it doesn't tell me what I need. I'm going to click on it to open it. That's a good headline. It catches your eye. It makes you want to read more, but it's not giving you all of the information. You have to click to open it.
Well, Anne-Marie, we want more, but Jean has that look.
I know. I have that look. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Anne-Marie Cox, the Director of Communications for the Diocese of Des Moines, on their new newsletter and magazines from the diocese. If you want to get that newsletter, go to dmdiocese.com/newsletter. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network. Welcome back to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
So the electronic version, will that be every month or just in the alternating months?
So the digital newsletter is every other week.
Every other week.
So you want to make sure that you sign up for that so that you're getting the latest inspirational stories, what's happening at the legislature, what's happening in news across the country. I'm sure in a very recent one, we're going to include the announcement of Bishop Hicks going to New York. We will have access to OSV news and other news sources that we'll use as wire stories that'll help give Catholics a broader perspective, not just of what's happening here in their parishes, in our diocese, but in the national and worldwide church.
Wow. So broadening the footprint of this. Wow.
Right.
And is there a subscription cost with this?
There is no subscription cost for the digital newsletter.
If you sign up in the next 20 minutes.
Digital newsletter, right. But that you do have to sign up to get the newsletter. We don't want to flood people's inboxes and then have them unsubscribe.
Because we do have emails of the faithful throughout Central Southwest.
Right,
but
right.
That's a good decision.
Now, for the magazine, it goes to every Catholic registered household, which makes us somewhat unique across the country, but we believe in the evangelization power of this product, that we want to make sure it gets in every household. In the spring or early summer, we do hold a subscription campaign, and we invite people to help us in the mission of evangelization through media by taking a subscription to the magazine.
Right. And supported by your annual diocesan appeal as
That's
well, right?
That's
so
right.
This is a commitment that we have, and to sustain this. So will some of your peers in the journalism, Catholic journalism world, what are you doing? You're sending this magazine to everybody in your diocese?
It is a commitment. There's a cost to evangelization. If you're doing it face to face, it's powerful, but you're meeting people one at a time. How do we spread those seeds across a wider field? We're doing it digitally, we're doing it through print, we're doing it thanks to Iowa Catholic Radio and what they're doing and sharing God's word through the airwaves, as many ways as we can.
Wonderful. So different staff skill sets to put the digital version versus the print version. Take us behind the scenes, how that all gets put together.
Well, I want to throw some credit to Alexis Reese. She has really upped our game in terms of digital. She has completely reworked our website. We have basically a new engine in our website. The SEO is going to be so much better, which basically means when you're searching, we're going to show up toward the top. And that's what we want, is we want to make sure that we are a credible source of Catholic information for people who are searching and wondering.
So can we influence the algorithms on this? Or, I mean, is this what she's doing in effect? Or?
It's what she's doing. So it used to be that when you would do a search in any search engine, you would get a list of websites that would have the answers that you're seeking. Now, artificial intelligence, AI, is kind of replacing that. If you do a search, it's going to give you an answer up front in a paragraph, and then the websites fall below that. So it's imperative that our website be among the first there. So where searches used to drive traffic to websites, that AI is kind of changing the algorithm, you might say. So what is drawing people to our websites? We're not giving up. It's local content. You know, there's this phrase that says content is king. And it's true. It's local content in the newsletter. It'll be local content in the magazine that keeps people connected. We're cultivating connections locally. but then on a broader scale too.
Fascinating. All this is going on. And time is winding down here, but so every other month, the print magazine will be due out. That itself is a greater frequency than many dioceses are striving for.
It's true. There are a couple of dioceses that come to mind that had stopped their print publications and are bringing back a magazine. A couple of them are on a quarterly basis. We're going to go every other month because we want to share God's word through print as often as we can.
Anne-Marie, congratulations on getting to this point, and we know it's going to be widely received and already showing fruit that you're helping to bear. To collaborate with you in this whole sacred mission is a great grace for me, so thank you for your vocation.
Thank you for having me.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. Thanks to our guest and to all of you, our listeners throughout the Midwest or wherever, to the Iowa Catholic Radio Network and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio and Making It Personal is provided by Sarah Vocations Ministry. Learn more at joinserra.org.